What's up guys? Today we'll be discovering some of Summoner's War mysteries. Some of you were asking if the buffs apply on the total stats or it applies on the base stats and how much exactly does every buff gives. Because for example, if we check the leader skill buffs, it stated how much it gives. Here it increases the attack speed of all allies by 19%. But for example, if you check an attack power buff, it tells you and increases the attack power and defense for 2 turns, but it doesn't tell you how much does the buff give exactly. Okay, so I will be just stating every detail about the buffs, and to start, let's just move on and check the leader skill buffs. Okay, we go here on a random stage of Toa. We will just put Barretta as leader, and it tells you increase the attack speed of all monsters by 19%. Does the 19% apply on the base speed or on the total speed? The answer here is the base speed, because all the leader skill buffs apply on the base stats. Okay, so if you remove Barretta and we put Vermos here, she increased the HP of all allied monsters by 33%, and those 33% apply on the base HP, not on the total HP. Okay, and there is a small information. I guess like many of you might know this already, but some people are asking too much if, for example, Toa is considered as dungeons or not, or the story mode is considered as dungeons or not. Simply the answer here, Toa isn't considered as dungeon, because if you put Jojo on, you will see he increased the defense of all allies monsters in the dungeons by 33%, but the sentence here is white, which means that the buff is deactivated. It's not active. Okay, because if you put Barretta and we check the sentence, it's in orange, which means the buff is activated. We will just do a quick test here and put Jojo, and you see the sentence is white, which means the story mode isn't considered as dungeon. Okay, and it goes with every leader skill buff. If you want to check if it's active or not, just check the color of the leader skill sentence here and you will know if it's active or not. Now let's move on to the complicated part and check the first buff that we have, and it's the attack power buff. Okay, here it says that increases the attack power and critical rate of all allies for 3 turns, but it doesn't state how much exactly this buff gives. So the answer to this question is 50%. This attack power buff gives 50% more attack power and more damage to your skills, and you have to be really careful that not all the skills will take 50% more damage, but only the skills that scales with attack power, which means that, for example, here if we check the Wind AA and we check the first skill, I can't find him. Okay, he's here. We check the first skill, attack with a heavily sword, removing a beneficial effect on the enemy with a 75% chance that damage increase according to your defense, which means this skill increases according to the defense. That doesn't mean that the skill doesn't scale with attack power. For sure every skill scales with attack power, but the ratio here of the skill taking power from the defense is higher than the ratio of the skill taking power from the attack power. So having 50% more attack power here doesn't mean that you will have 50% more damage on this skill, but you will have only 50% damage on the skills that increases according to the attack power only. And to prove this, let's just check an example. We will go here, and we all know, or if you didn't know, that the bombs just scale with the attack power. It doesn't have any relation with your defense or the defense of the enemy monster or anything. It's just based on your attack power, and it scales from it. So I just got Megan here because she's water. I don't want anyone to be touched. Like I got Brian to tank those fire guys, and I have Jojo and Megan, and I will go inside and test if the attack power is increased really by 50% or not. Okay, so here we will just put the bombs first and check the damage, and later we will buff and check the damage after the buff is on. Okay, so here I will just slow and check the damage on this left guy. Okay, let's move and check. 6.3k, 6.3k, and 6.7k. So it's all around 6.3 and 6. Like let's say the average is 6.5k. Now we will go and buff the buff of Megan, which increases the attack power by 50%, and check how much the bombs will do. Okay, so we buff now. We hit this guy and we put the bombs on with Jojo. Now normally those bombs should deal 50% more damage because the skill doesn't scale with anything other than the attack, like the attack power. So we will just let them move once and we will just make it on the slow mode. Okay, now and check the slow mode. Okay.
Well, there's a war going on outside.
Did you see the 9k? So it means that this skill, like this buff, increases the damage by 50% exactly, because 50% from the 9.5, from the 6.5k, it's around 9.3 or 9.2, and that was the case of Jojo. Okay, so I guess this is clear, and like it's easily to prove, like it's so easy to prove it. So now let's move on and check the other buff, and the other buff is also so easy, and it's the defense buff. How much does it give? The answer here is 50%, which means that here, if you check now the wind AA, okay, this skill increases with your defense, so it scales more with the defense. So if you give this guy a defense buff, his damage from here will be increased by 50%. It might not be exactly 50% because still the skill has a small ratio from the attack power. So it might be increasing. For example, if this skill is taking 80% ratio from the defense and 20% ratio from the attack power, it means that you will only be increasing the defense by, like you will still for sure increase the defense by 50%, but this skill will take only 40% more, because this skill only takes 80% of the defense, not the full defense. So your damage, for example, will be increased by 40%. Okay, I guess it's easy, and let's move on to the next buff, and it's the critical rate buff. Like this buff increases the critical rate of all allies. Still, come to us, just tell us how much percent. Why you are not saying increases the attack power and critical rate of all allies by 30%? It's so easy to just add by 30%. Okay, anyway, this buff increases the critical rate by 30%, and the 30% here are flat 30%. Okay, it's not multiplicative, it's additive, which means here if I go with Seek and Katarina in a battle, and Seek use this buff on Katarina here has 60% critical rate, and with the buff on she will have 90% critical rate. Okay, so here the buff only increases 30% flat critical rate to any monster, which is really good. Now let's move on and check the next buff, which counters this buff actually, and this buff is the anti-crit buff. Okay, here creates a shield that absorbs the inflicted damage proportionate to your level for all allies for 3 turns, and decreases the chance of being attacked with a critical hit of the allies. It tells you that it decreases the chance of being attacked with a critical hit, but still it doesn't tell you how much. Okay, simply the answer here is 50%, but the 50% aren't additive, which means that this buff like halves the critical rate of enemy. So if Katarina is attacking anyone, let's say Megan, and this Megan has the anti-crit buff on, Katarina will have 30% critical rate. She won't have 10%. You won't just take 60% and make them minus 50% and say that the critical rate of Katarina now is 10%. No, that's wrong. It just halves the critical rate. It doesn't decrease it by 50%, but it halves it. Okay? So let's take another example let's take another example. If we give the buff from Seek to Katarina, that makes her at 90% critical rate. And then Katarina will attack Megan that has the entire crit of Acasis buff on. So Katarina now will just have 45% critical chance. Okay? So I guess it's now clarified, like you now understand how much the critical rate buff and debuff gives. So let's move on to the next buff, which is really confusing to many people, and it was really confusing me until I found the answer. Here, increases the attack bar of all allies by 30% and also increase their attack speed for 2 turns. Okay, but does this buff increase the attack speed by 30% or not? And if it increases by 30%, the 30% are applied on the base speed or on the total speed? Simply, this answer, the answer to this question is no, for sure. This buff doesn't increase the attack speed by 30%, but it increases the attack speed by 33%. Okay, now the question is, the 33% apply on the base speed or on the total speed? Okay, I done many researches and checked many things to see this, but no one gave a proof. There was no proof that this buff applies on the total or the base speed. Okay, so I kept working on this, and I kind of fucked up my runes of Vermos and mixed them with Barretta just to get the test on my Barretta and Vermos. Okay, here you will find that my Barretta has a total of 152 speed, and the total of speed for Vermos is 153 speed. Okay, which means that Vermos is higher than Barretta by 1 speed. Okay, so I will just go and show you the equation that I did on numbers, and we will come back after the equation and check if what I said is true or not. Okay guys, so as you see here, I inserted the base speed of Vermos and Barretta, the total speed of Vermos and Barretta, and I inserted them one more time just because my program doesn't allow me to use the same slot twice, because I will need it in my equation. Okay, and also I inserted the buff ratio, which is 33%, as I said. Okay, now let's calculate the total speed of Vermos if the buff applies on the total speed. So to calculate this, we will just take the total speed plus 33% of the total speed still. Okay, which makes Vermos at 203.5 speed. Now let's calculate the total speed of Barretta if the buff applies on the total speed still. So it's equal the total speed of Barretta plus 33% of the total speed of Barretta, which makes him, oh sorry, I forgot it here, which makes him at 202.16 speed. Okay, now in this case Vermos is higher than Barretta, which means that Vermos should move first. Now let's see the total speed of Vermos if the buff applies on the base speed. So we will just take the total speed plus 33% of the base speed, because here the buff applies on the base speed. Okay, we do the same for Barretta. We take the total speed plus 33% of the base speed of Barretta, which gives Barretta higher speed. And that means that Barretta should move first. Okay? Here I made the difference between Vermos and Barretta total speed by, like, the difference is only one speed difference. Why I did this? I did this on purpose just because the base speed of Barretta is higher than the base speed of Vermos. So here, if the buff applies on the total speed, okay, let's check something. We will just make the total speed, if the buff applies on the total speed, minus the total speed of Barretta, which give us 1.33. Okay, and those 1.33 difference is what makes Vermos move first, if the buff applies on the total speed for sure. This one is the 1%, like the one speed I gave to I gave to Vermos on her total speed, and the 33% are 33% of the one already I gave. Now let's check the total speed of Barretta. Why it's higher by 65%? 0.65 speed. If we check here, the base speed of Barretta is higher than the base speed of Vermos by 5. And if the buff applies on the base speed, so the only difference between Barretta and Vermos will be 1.65. Why? I will just erase this and tell you why. Simply because 5 times the buff ratio, it gives 1.65, which means that Barretta should be faster by 1.65 speed. Why he is only faster by 0.65? Just because I gave Vermos one speed here. Just to make Barretta faster, if the buff applies on the base speed, even if Vermos total speed is higher, he will still move first because of his base speed. But if the buff applies on the total speed, Vermos will move first because the speed is calculated on the total speed, which gives Vermos 33, just 0.33 speed difference, plus the one I already gave to her. Okay, now let's go and check if Vermos move first or Barretta move first. Okay guys, so now you should still remember that if Vermos, if the buff applies on the total speed, Vermos will move first. But if the buff applies on the base speed, Barretta will move first, even if Vermos has higher total speed before the buff. So let's go and check on Trial of Ascension stage, and here there is no speed buff on, just to make this equation so simple. So now let's go and check if Vermos will move first or Barretta will move first. Okay, we will just buff here, and if you check the attack bars, we are all full at attack bars and Vermos moves first, which means that, look, see, Barretta moves after because the difference is only one speed difference between them. Okay, and here it's so clear that the buff applies on the total speed and Vermos moved first, which proves my my words and my equation right. I hope this helps you guys, because I really did too much work and worked a lot and put too much time just to fix the runes to make the total speed one. It might look so simple, but it's not really simple at all. Okay, so let's now move on and check the next buff, and this buff is really so clear, like it's clear by CompToAds, but I will still state it. For example, here revives a dead ally with 30% HP, which recovers by 15% per turn for the next 2 turns, and the buff here is just the recovery buff, which gives 15% for each turn. Okay, if you check also the the water AA here, you will check the same, and it's it says recovers the HP of allies by 30% and additionally recovers by 50% for the next 3 turns. Okay, so the recovery buff here is fixed to 15%. No matter if it will last 1 turn, 2 turns, or 3 turns, or even 10, it will still heal each turn by 15%. Okay, so now let's move on and check the next buff, which is the counter attack. And the counter attack has 2 cases: the counter attack with no condition and the counter attack on condition. Let's check the first one and check the buff here. Attacks the enemy and counter attacks when attacked for 1 turn, which means that once you attack this dog, he will just counter and revenge you. No matter if you crit him, if you land a glancing hit, if you do anything, he will just counter attack you. The only way that he doesn't counter attack you is stunning him while attacking. Otherwise, he will still counter attack you. Okay, let's check another case, like the other case where the counter attack is on a condition, and we will check the dark cat here. Here, counter attack with a critical hit if you are attacked with a critical hit and increase the attack dodge by 30%. Here the counter attack is on condition that the enemy should attack me with a critical hit, which means that if I keep attacking this cat 100 times without a critical hit, she will never counter attack me. But if I hit her once with a critical hit, she will reply back and she will revenge, and her revenge will be with a critical hit also. Okay, there is also another situation where the light AA revenges for the team, like for himself for sure, but also for the team. Here, counter attacks the attacker when you or the ally is attacked with a critical hit and increases the attack dodge by 15%. This revenge is on condition, and it has a special case also that if you hit any of his allies with a critical hit, he will still revenge you. But here for sure, it doesn't force you that, like, it doesn't make sure that this AA will land a critical hit just like the dark cat, but he will land, and it depends on his critical rate if it will crit or not. Okay, so let's move on with the next buff, which I really like a lot and I found so useful, and this buff is the immunity buff. Here, Chloe, all allies are invincible for 1 turn and gain immunity for 2 turns. The immunity here, it just disable all the harmful effects and inability effects, weakening effects, any harmful effects that might affect your monsters. It will be disabled. It won't even touch your monster. So if you try to stun, it won't work. If you try to make dots, it won't work. If you try to decrease the attack bar, it won't work while the immunity is on, because people think that immunity just prevents from stunning, from harmful effects or just inability effects, but it also like protects the ally or the unit that has the immunity on from being resetted by Hua, for example, or by anyone else that decreases the attack bar. Okay, now let's move to the same to the next buff with the same monsters, and it's the invincibility. The invincibility here, it reduces all the damage inflicted on the monster to 0, which means if I attack you with Ramagus, for example, and my Ramagus normally deals 30k on you, he will just deal 0 damage on you. Okay, but having invincibility on doesn't mean you have immunity, which means that you still can have all the debuffs on. You can still be stunned, you can be like your attack bar can be reduced, all the inability or the harmful effect can be affected on you. Okay, and it's really good. Why? Because, for example, if I have Bella here, Bella weakens the defense for 2 turns. Okay, and if we check Chloe again, Chloe gives invincibility for 1 turn, which means that when Chloe buffs and I attack with Bella and I apply my debuff on the target, he will be protected for the first turn from my debuff, and then the cooldown of my debuff will be reduced to 1, but still, by the time the monster will move, he will still have the armor debuff on him, so I will be able to kill him by like the next turn. Okay, now let's check the other buff, and I guess it's also so clear. And let's check the water yeti, and it's the reflection. Here it grants immunity to all harmful effects for 3 turns and reflects 30% of the damage back to the enemies. And the reflection here is so clear, it tells you the amount exactly, so I don't think there is a problem knowing this buff, like the details of this buff. Okay, now let's move on and go to another shield, and it's the shield of Acasis. Creates a shield that absorbs the inflicted damage proportionate to your level for all allies for 3 turns and decreases the chance of being attacked with a critical hit. So, how much does this shield gives? Does the shield gives defense, or the shield gives HP, or what? Simply the answer here is the shield gives 4.8k HP at level 40 6-star Acasis. Okay guys, so here is an Acasis level 40 and my Arnold, that's his stats. Okay, so we will go in and see how much he deals. Okay, so we make Vermus move. Oh, Acasis didn't buff, that's just annoying, but no problem, it will just slow down like 2-3 seconds more. Anyway, come on. What? This Acasis is really annoying. Just put your shield on. Just put your shield on. Oh, really? What the fuck is this Acasis? Are you kidding me? Come on, just put your shield on. Oh, guys, that's really insane. What is this Acasis? Okay, I will just try to kill one of them so that she shields. She got stunned. That's just not normal at all. Like, and you see Arnold already. He's close to death. Okay, never mind, guys. Okay. Okay. So, here's Acasis, level 40, and we check. Okay, we do like this, just to lower. Yeah, perfect. So now the shield of Acasis is on. So I will just try to focus all my attacks on one guy, and I put the extortion from Arnold on someone else. Now no one touches the shield on Chasun. So we will see if the shield like explodes and it does 42 damage, then this shield has 4.8k. Okay, because my Arnold does 4,842 damage with extortion. Okay, now let's check, and you see the shield disappeared and it's 42. Now we will just leave this. Like, I boosted this guy a lot trying to test this video, but anyway, now we will go on another place and we do this. We go in and we check the damage of my Arnold still again, and the extortion will do for a 4,842. Come on. Okay, now let me slow this and you check again. See? 4,842, which means that the shield has 4.8k, and I tested this on all the monsters. It doesn't, like, since the shield is based on the level of Acasis, so it's like it doesn't change from a monster to another. Okay, now let's move on to the next buff, which the water monk has, oh, these are winds. The water monk. Okay. Defend. This buff is known as hug. Okay. It says decreases the inflicted damage to 0 for 3 turns when your ally is attacked and receive 50% on the 50% of the damage, like of the original damage on the beast monk. This sounds like an invincibility, but for 3 turns. Okay, but it's the same as invincibility, but with a small difference, that the target with the invincibility does take 0 damage, but the beast monk takes 50% of this damage, and this is good in some cases and bad in other cases. Let me tell you why. Now, for example, if this beast monk is going with a Katarina, for example, okay, if he's going with my Katarina is so squishy, so once the enemy will attack Katarina, my beast monk will put the hug on my Katarina. So here, Katarina will take 0 damage. Now let's suppose that there is, for example, an Hua attacking my Katarina. Hua, if Hua is attacking my beast monk, the water beast monk, she won't do that much damage because she will be landing glancing hits, and if my beast monk already is tanky with high defense, the Hua won't be doing too much damage. So let's say she is doing 1k on my beast monk. Okay. Meanwhile, if she attacks Katarina, she will do around 5k on Katarina. Let's say it's just an example. She will do 5k on Katarina. So when the beast monk here will just use his second skill, which is defend or hug, he will do it on Katarina. Katarina will take 0 damage, and Chandra will take 50% of this damage. And 50% of the damage done by Hua on Katarina will be 2.5k in this situation, which means that you increase the damage of Hua on Chandra. So you did put Chandra on a bad situation just to save Katarina. So it's really good, like it should be used in really good tactics, and the skill is really useful in some cases, but still some people might counter it and do what I said. Okay, so now let's move on to another useful buff also, which is Fedora. Fedora has a buff called Endure, and this buff is protecting all allies from death for 1 turn. Okay, which means it also works as invincibility, but invincibility when your HP is 1. Let me explain this more. For example, if let's look at Fedora's stats, he has 7.2k HP. Okay, so if Fedora does this buff on himself, or for sure it's on the all allies, so he will have the same buff. And now I come and do 10k, for example, from the extortion of Arnold on Fedora. Okay, so those 10k will still take all the HP of Fedora except 1 HP, which makes Fedora standing as with 1 HP but not dying. Okay, so it works same as invincibility, but when your HP is 1 HP. Okay, this skill is really useful. Many people, I know some friends, they use this skill on stage Stoa 80 and on stage 90 also, because at some point they ignore the defense at stage 90, and on stage 80 they have this AoE attack that has armor debuff and too many of them, so many people die from this, so they just use the water Death Knight just to make this buff, and then after he does this buff, he just goes and have 1 more turn to heal back the damage done on him. Okay, so now let's move on to the next buff, and it's the last buff. So let's go for Linda. Linda summons a comet to attack all enemies multiple times and creates a shield on the enemy. What? Come to us, are you fucking kidding me? I'll create a shield on the enemy with the lowest HP for 2 turns. Okay, the ally how I will create the enemy, like the shield on the enemy, and then the ally is revived automatically with 30% HP. Well, anyway, I guess Come To Us is just trolling us as always, or it's just a mistake. So here, this skill should be summon a comet to attack all enemies multiple times and creates a shield on the ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns. The ally is revived automatically with 30% HP if the ally dies with this effect on. Okay, this effect is known also as Protect Soul. So here, when you have someone that is gonna die, or for example, if you have a team full of water and you have Linda and you have one guy wind, for example, and the enemy team is all fire. So you will just wait when your wind is attacked by the fire. You will do the Linda AoE, which makes the shield on your wind guy, and then every one of the enemy fire will be hitting this wind. He will die, and since he have this shield on, he will be revived again. And I know many people also using this skill in Toba just to tank many things. So this skill is really useful, and it's I guess it's kind of rare, like it doesn't exist too much in the game. There is 2 more, like I'm not sure if they are really buffs or not, but it has the same effect, like it applies in battle, and it's the ally shield reunions, which gives 15% of the HP, and the 15% of the HP here is applied on the base HP. And this reunions can stack, which means if you put 2 sets of this reunion, it will give you 30% of the HP. If you put 3 sets on your monster, it gives 45% of the HP. I will be talking about these reunions with details in a video for sure, but I just also wanted to state it here, just so you know. Okay, here there is also the second thing that happens in the battle, which is filling the attack bar. Here, if you read, fill the attack bar of all allies by 30%. Okay, so this buff is always so clear. It tells you how much the attack bar will be increased by. If you check, for example, Megan, here, increase the attack bar of all allies by 20%. If you check Bernard, it's the same. Increase the attack bar of all allies by 30%. So as you see, it's not fixed to 30%. It depends from a monster to another, and it's so clear to know. So I guess now that's all the buffs that we can talk about that apply in battles. And again, all the buffs that apply on battles are according to the total stats, not the base stats. Now let's check the last buffs that we can get, and it's the buffs from, the buildings in Glory Shop. As I said in my Glory Shop video, that for example, the fire sky trip, so the sky trip totem, the sky trip totem, it increases the speed, and at max level, this building gives 15% speed. The question is are the 15% on the base or the total? And since this buff doesn't apply during the battle, like you don't activate it during the battle, it's just like it's automatically activated before you enter, just like the leader skill. So the 15% here are based on the base stats, not the total stats. Same as the crystal altar. The 2% HP here will be applied on the base stats. The ancient sword, the 2% attack will be applied on the base stats. So guys, I guess that's all what I know about the buffs and the leader skills, and I guess everything is clear here. So I hope really this video helps you, because I really worked hard to get those informations, and I searched a lot, because as you see, there is nothing clear, and even on the forums and on the game support, it's not so clear. You just have to keep asking and checking and doing the tests as I did, just to make sure that this information is right. So for sure, I will tell again that I might be mistaken, or I might have misunderstood something. So if you have any problem, or if you disagree with any point of what I said, just ask me, and we will have a conversation for sure together, and we will discuss and check who is right. I will just say again, if you don't like my videos, or if you wanna dislike or hit the dislike button, I won't tell you not to do. For sure, do it. But once you do it, just please spend a few seconds and type a comment. Tell me why you dislike the video, just because I wanna improve my videos. I wanna make something that pleases you guys, and not just to waste your time and make you feel bad after you watch the videos. I guess that's all what I wanted to say today. So thank you guys for watching. I really hope the videos help you. Please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye!